find geolocation, to find where the user is coming from and where to drop it and which one, and maybe go to within a certain, you have a different, within a region you have different availability zones. You can push them to different availability zones. Everything is configurable. Every single last drop is configurable. And everything is configurable upon a particular user. So you can have a secretary access this, and they only have access to, say, I don't know, work mail or something. Or you can have like your engineers just be, or your designers just have access to the S3 bucket. Your database guys just have access to the RDS services. They don't have any access to the AC2s. So again, this right here is Route 53. Your users ask for the gateway. Amazon figures it out for you automatically. It sends it through. This is your VPC right here. Yeah, oops, sorry. This whole little cloud right here, it's a little secure cloud. And in Virginia, you can encrypt this. They all come with a basic type level encryption, but you can do different levels of it. Amazon is scary about the type of security. I mean, I was blown away when I was doing my security certificate as to the level at which they were doing their hashes and their PEM. You only use PEM certificates. They don't use any other type of certificates. They don't find anything else that's really secure enough for them. So your VPC, this is what it is right here. It's literally your TCP IP network that you're setting up. It's your router. You're setting up your internet router, your gateway, all that stuff. And you can have, when a new server comes online, your router will automatically assign a new IP address, or you can have it static, you can have an increment by one. Really, really, really cool stuff. So you do not want to delete your VPC. You do not ever want to delete your default VPC. Because you can do that, and then when you delete your default VPC and you create a new VPC, you no longer have a default at VPC. And why that's important is because anytime you spin up a new server or an RDS service or any type of service, if you don't have a default VPC, then it's going to have to ask you, you're going to have to fish around which particular VPC do I have, and you can set up 3 or 4 different VPCs, and they're all different reasons, and we'll show you here in a second why, but you do not delete your one, because you can't make another default VPC. You have to call them up and say, hey, I deleted my VPC, my default one, give me a new one. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's scary. Yeah, you guys get that? It's very important. It caused me hours and hours and hours and hours of headache. Don't ever delete your default VPC. Alright, so these are your VPC scenarios. Again, VPC is your virtual private cloud. And you can set up your virtual private cloud for each individual server. You can set up for your RDS service. And these goes over all the different scenarios right here. This is scenario number 1, where you just basically have your private server here. Your internet gateway comes into your router, it sends everything to the EC2. You can set up, within this EC2 you can set up your own SQL database if you want, or you can send it to the RDS services. And you might want to put it in a different availability zone, or in a whole other VPC. So it's more so geared towards something like a blog, maybe like a WordPress or something. Something very simple, doesn't have to be that secure. Maybe you don't even have your database here, you have it hosted, say, on like HostTech or something, or some other SQL service, or you're self-hosting your RDS. So this is something that some people do too, is they have all the web servers hosted outside of AWS, and then they have their SQL database internal because they don't trust it to anyone else. So that's something to think about. Here is the second situation. This is probably the most common. This is kind of what I set up on mine. You have one availability zone. An availability zone is within a region. Each region is its data center. And you set up 2 VPCs right here. This one, actually no, this one. I set up 2 VPCs. This one does not. So this is 2 different subnets right here within your VPC. And I set up, personally, I did 2 VPCs that were completely separated, which had 2 different internet gateways, which shared a router between the 2 so that I can move stuff between. And that was because I had some weird business case for that. But this is probably the most common for, especially when it comes to security reasons, because you have your own different subnets for your RDS services and your gateways and whatever else. So again, you're building your own little cloud with however you want. This is a private subnet. So you can set up a VPN connection, a hardware-based VPN connection, and it is as if it is within your office location, right? So it conforms to your subnet, and you connect to it. Now, VPN connections, like I said, they charge you for everything. VPNs are expensive. They charge you by the minute. Again, you can get a 20% discount or something like that if you pay for annual, but they will charge you for this, and it's very, very expensive. This one is a pure internal customer network. It's as if we have the computers here and we're accessing the RDS services and the web servers, but everything is internal. The whole shebang. And you have your completely separate internet gateway up here, as you can tell. So everything is separated out. You're modeling your entire infrastructure completely custom to how you want it, how your business needs are. I can't really say that enough, pound that in enough. Everything is custom, how you want. So this is what we're going to look at, what I did for mine. Again, Route 53, internet gateway, going to a load balancer, going to an instance, hitting a database service, all within your VPC, within your region, your availability zones. Availability zones are important because if this zone goes down, each data center is set up with different zones, so if this zone goes down, whether it's internet or power, there's a backup zone, and there's 3 availability zones in each data center, and they have different heuristics or different points of importance according to each individual data center. Load balances. This is like black magic to me. You're getting a hardware load balancer, except it's software, and it is extremely smart. It bounces, like you saw earlier here, if you spin up, if an alarm goes off and it spins up a new EC2, it will remember the user session and send you between the session accordingly. Oh, you've been on this server, so I'm going to keep sending you to this server. Oh, you're on this server. I don't know how it worked, but when I did it with my system that I set up, I could tell I was hitting on different servers, and it was keeping my session intact. And I had 2 different sessions open on 2 different computers, and they were hitting two different EC2s, and it was keeping the sessions intact even though they were 2 different things. I wasn't doing anything. I never set anything up. But it's the sticky sessions. That's the thing. SSL termination at the load balancer. You can get SSL termination, SSL or TSL termination at the load balancer, and that's important because you can either have the load balancer actually decrypt the communication, or you can have it push all the way through to the EC2, and the EC2 will decrypt that session for you. And again, but if you do that, this EC2 and this EC2, they both have to have the certificate installed on there. Make sense? So this is what an EC2 or an instance is. They call it Elastic Cloud Computing is the official name, and they call it an instance. So each instance that you spin up, and an instance is more geared towards the actual hardware. An AMI is Amazon Machine Image, and that is either your Windows OS, your Linux system, or whatever software you want to use. Completely separated out, completely different. And of course, you can use different Windows versions, 64-bit, 32-bit, whatever you want to do. So this is the RDS service. Again, you can completely customize to a certain degree within the region that you're at. When you choose a region, you're kind of choosing everything. You're throwing everything into one thing. I didn't get that far into it where I was having my web servers in this region, and then maybe my RDS service in a different region. I don't even think you can do that. I'm not sure. But it's important that you think about it because different regions have different abilities to do different things. An instance, when you create an instance in RDS services, you're grabbing a chunk of a SQL server. Does that make sense to you guys? I don't know how familiar you guys are with SQL services, but if you're not getting an entire SQL server, you're just getting a chunk of it. So you can put all your databases on there and whatever you want on there, but they do not provide shell access, and they don't restrict access to certain system procedures that you don't have access to. In this case, they actually manage everything for you in terms of security. They do the software patches, they do the security, they make sure things aren't getting hacked, they keep things separated from each other. So that's an important distinction between the EC2 world and the RDS world. They will actually perform all the maintenance for you on this. These are all the things that you can get right here in red. You can create your own backups, but they do all the backups for you. Again, the backups start creating disk space, and you will get charged for the disk space. And then you can say, hey, I only want to have 100 gigs of disk space, and that's it. And then now they start deleting it. Completely customizable. So here we go back to the friendly version. The reason why we're going back to the friendly version, the marketing version, is because we have the web servers here, right? But then we have application servers. And we have an ELB between the two. Application servers are email service. So when you sign up for an email with them, because you have your domain, right? And you want to send email out, you need to use their SES, their simple email service. They do not provide an email box for you, and they do not provide an email system for you. When you sign up with them, you have to turn in a request with them that says, hey, I have a domain name, you're hosting it, maybe you're not hosting it, but I want to use you guys to send my emails out. It could be, you could have your own server set up here, and you can use Amazon to set up their email, or send out your email for you. But you have to say, hey, here's my email policy. You have to say what types of emails. You have to provide them a privacy policy on what website the privacy policy is going to be on, how users can opt out, and you have to have you have a way to deal with bounces, and you're not going to be sending bad emails more than a certain percentage of all the emails that you send out. It's actually extremely low. It's like 0.5% of your emails can be sent out, come back as bad bounces or bad emails. Again, they want to prevent the spammers. The dev account is 200 emails per day, I think, around there, and 3 emails per second. Once you get approved, 10,000 emails a day, 10 emails a second. Which sounds like a lot, but I actually hit, when I was doing my registration system, the first registration we did, we were doing 8 emails a second. We registered like 500-600 people, and each registration took like 2 or 3 emails that were verified out. Hey, we got registration, it's out. Hey, you've been verified for this, blah, blah, blah. Everything was done automatic. I guess I did a pretty good job at what I was doing, because they automatically upgraded me to 50,000 emails per day, 14 emails a second. Okay, so, and as you spend more time with them, as you send more emails out, as you have a really low bounce rate, and you seem more and more legitimate, they will slowly increase this amount as time goes on. Yeah?
Do you know if they buffer anything over 14 a second, or do they throw them away?
That's a great question. It depends upon how you send them the email. I ran into this problem because I actually had this problem at one point in time, and then they ended up pushing me to 14. ColdFusion, if you use the ColdFusion service, ColdFusion will buffer it for you. So you can make sure ColdFusion, and that's how I got around it. ColdFusion in their email service don't go more than, I said 8 emails and then start a second and just start buffering it. And that's what I ended up doing. I think they deleted. I forgot. But in ColdFusion, it's real simple. They have the email server in there, boom, you just set it all up and away you go. You have to verify each email too. I want to make sure I said that. I don't know if I said that. So each email that you send out needs to be verified. So they are very, very, very tough on you for emails. Privacy, security and privacy. When you first sign up, you'll get a key sent to you. Do not lose that key. It's a one-time send you key kind of deal. It's unrecoverable. And with that key, you can decrypt your EC2 instance, your login for that. So everything is done through RDS if you're using Windows, and of course SSH for the other stuff. And so when you spin up a new server, there's a new random password that gets assigned to the admin account. And in order for you to decrypt that password, you must have your key that you use, and then it decrypts it for you and you put it in there. So, I mean, like I said, everything from them is completely secured. The load balancers, where did I have it? Oh, look, don't delete your VPC. Remember, don't delete your VPC. Your load balancers. Your load balancers and your, do I have? Your elastic load balancers. You actually have to set up. No, it's not these. This is Internet Gateway Load Balancer. No, there's I forgot what it's called, but you'll see it. You have to set the ports up. So when you get something set up by default, all the ports are turned off except for port 3389. The only way to get to your server is through port 3389. So I ended up opening up 443 and 80 for the SSL TLS and the web port, and then I opened up 3389 was already open, and I had to open up 1433 for my RDS service to get to that. And I changed that to a different port as well. And of course, all of this stuff is controlled through a web browser. How cool is that? Alright, so I'm going to show you guys real quick some of the instances. I'll show you, we'll log in here and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So this is your login screen. You can kind of see everything that's here. It's one big massive thing. You can set up your resource group, so you can set up your servers and your EC2s and all this stuff. If you click on this, it'll be just specific to that. So this is your, and this is fast. This is slow right now because I'm on my hotspot. But it's so fast that when I first started doing this, I have my virtual machine set up to do my testing and development. And there was one time I was on this, I was testing something, and I said, okay, cool, go. And I blinked for a second, and it wouldn't go. Like, come on, let's go. It hasn't refreshed. Why is it taking such a long time? And I looked at it, and I realized the browser had already refreshed. And it was so fast that I didn't even notice it refreshed. It was actually just as fast, if not faster, than my home development machine, which was right there sitting locally on my machine. That's how fast it was. I don't even have that fast an internet connection at home. So these are your instances right here. So these are you have a medium instance. This is the lowest instance that you can get on a Windows CF service, M3, and they break everything down, M3, M1, M2, and then they have a C service and a T service, and all those different levels they have different amounts of memory and CPU and disk space, and if the disk space is hard drive disk space, or if the hard drive is SSD based. And of course they charge you for all that kind of different stuff. You can create, here's a cloud metrics, obviously nothing's happening, but if I had something happening, you could see what's going on. Right click on it, get Windows passwords, launch more like this, instant state, start it, stop, terminate. If you hit terminate, this would actually delete this AMI, or this instance.
I will give you a little hint too.
Yeah.
Notice that you got a blue dot next to your top one there?
Yes.
Work with your instances one at a time.
Yes.
I was stopping one, and I was going to do some work on it, so I clicked on it and I had it stopped, and I looked down and I had an instance that was stopped, and I thought, you know, I need to get rid of that. So I right-clicked on it and said terminate. The top one was already selected, so guess what? It terminated them both. And the one on the top was one I had running for 2 years.
Yep. Could you get it back?
Oh no,
yep.
You can't get it back.
You can't get it back, exactly.
It cost me a whole weekend to rebuild everything that was on it. So yeah, you work with everything one at a time, and make sure that your dot is on the right one, because it lets you work with multiple instances at the same time, and it automatically just included it. And when I saw that it was both of them going, it was 2 in the morning, and I think my neighbors heard.
I had this problem, and which is really cool is we'll go to AMIs right here. These are all different AMIs that I have, and you can tell these are all labeled differently for different reasons. And the reason I did that was because as I worked through the process, you can see the different dates on here as well, I would create different versions of them, and I would literally just work on one while the other one was production. Okay, this one finally works exactly the way I want it. I had a really short turnaround time for when I needed to do this, so I couldn't have a production environment. I can just kind of work with it, or testing for 6 months. This had to be kind of as I was moving along. And what's important is what I ended up doing before I would push an update, I would make a copy of it. And so one night there was an important Adobe or CF update, and so I did it. I'm like, oh, cool, I just did it, right? And I was thinking, oh crap, I wonder if I made a copy of it. I'm like, oh, I think I did make a copy of it the other day. I did make a copy of it the other day. And of course, sure as heck, that stupid that connector, that IIS connector between CF and IIS broke. So I spent all